50 years later, it remains a tragic and significant date in Northern Ireland. This weekend marks the anniversary of Bloody Sunday. Victims' families have been walking the route of the Civil Rights March, which took place on this day in 1972 and ended with British soldiers in Derry shooting 31 unarmed civilians, killing 13 people. It was one of the deadliest days of the ongoing violence known as the Troubles, which claimed 3,500 lives. The Good Friday Agreement in 1998 brought an end to almost 3 decades of conflict. Now, for more on the present-day repercussions of that event, I'm joined on set by our international affairs editor, Douglas Herbert. Hi, Doug.
How are you?
Now, the events of Bloody Sunday happened 5 decades ago, but this remains a hugely important, symbolic day for the people of Northern Ireland. How is it remembered?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. And, look, like any historical watershed event, when you reach the 50-year mark, whether we're talking about World War II commemorations or in this case, one of the bloodiest days in the time of troubles of over 30 years plus, it recedes in the living memory. That is, the generation of those who actually lived it, saw it, witnessed it with their own eyes on January 30th, 1972. They're obviously getting older. There's still a lot of survivors, a lot of the families and the relatives of the 13 who died, actually 14. One protester died of their injuries later. So it's receding in the living memory. There are still a sizable number of the survivors around and witnesses. But like you said, it's becoming, just by the passage of time, more emblematic, more symbolic, if you will. And I'm not going to say so much of an abstraction because there's still very, very clear, vivid historical accounts and videos and photos of what happened on that day. It's a matter of passing on and teaching those events to a new generation here. But one of the things we can say is that what happened in Derry, Londonderry as it's called by the Protestant Unionists, the Loyalists to the UK, has 2 names, the town. What's happening right now is you're looking at a situation in which those who were living on the day are losing hope. They're more and more despondent, if you will, than any of the soldiers that actually participated in those events. And they were soldiers from Britain's parachute regiment over 30 minutes. It was very short. They fired, according to a subsequent report, 108 live rounds, resulting in those deaths. They're losing hope that any, that is, the Irish nationalists and those whose relatives died, the protesters who died, any hope that any of those soldiers will ever, now older obviously, ever see their day in court, will ever see justice. They're even more despondent over the fact there was actually a banner on the wall leading into Derry. It usually says you're now entering Free Derry. For this event, they took that down, and that wall mural now reads, there is no British justice, so an allusion to that loss of hope. But they're also despondent over the fact that right now they see Boris Johnson's government, the current government in power, basically pushing for legislation that the critics say would essentially grant amnesty to anyone on the British side implicated in unrest and the deaths over the whole period of the time of Troubles. So it's only right now pushing for that legislation, but they see an activist British government right now, as they see it, pushing to sort of push this further into memory and push away any chance of soldiers ever seeing justice.
Mm-hmm. So justice obviously is an outstanding issue here, hugely tense.
Yeah.
There have been other attempts at reconciliation, investigations, an apology from a British Prime Minister. But how would you say the state of tensions are right now? Have they dissipated?
Dissipated? Not at all. In fact, we've seen in recent months more rioting in some of the most, flashpoint hotspot areas in Northern Ireland near the border with the Republic of Ireland. Look, the divorce with the EU, the Brexit process itself, has basically weakened. It dealt a further sort of hammer blow, if you will, to what was never, writ in stone sort of peace process. The 1998 Good Friday Agreement is something that doesn't automatically just continue and perpetuate itself. It does rely on the goodwill of those who are in the here and now living to enforce it and to abide by it in good faith. What a lot of people think Brexit has done is it is basically weakened that, has created more fissures in the peace process. And a lot of people in Northern Ireland, on both sides, feel like Northern Ireland has been used by an opportunistic British government under Boris Johnson, the one of the famous "Let's get Brexit done" slogan. Northern Ireland has been used as a pawn, basically, to get Brexit done, which Brexit was done. But now It's in the wake of that, there's really a lot of troubles, and a lot of people are very scared what's going to happen to the future immediately of what's called that Northern Ireland Protocol, which was part of the Brexit deal. It was a protocol that basically governed post-Brexit trade between Northern Ireland and the UK mainland, England, Scotland, and Wales. If that is scrapped, as some are calling on the unionist side for it to be done, and the government is said to be sympathetic to those loyalist arguments. If that is scrapped, who knows? Some people say the whole cover, the lid will be blown on anything that was holding things at bay and keeping the peace in the wake of that 1998 Good Friday Agreement. So it's not a done deal, Good Friday. We now take it for granted. We say, oh, peace in Northern Ireland. But on this 50th anniversary, the bubbles beneath the surface are really coming up again. And there's a lot of fears that if history doesn't repeat itself, at least you could have a replay of a lot of the tensions that led to that type of tragedy at Derry 50 years ago.
Indeed, thank you very much for that insight into the commemoration of Bloody Sunday in Northern Ireland. Doug Herbert there from our International Affairs Desk.